All right, welcome everybody. How's everybody doing? It's gonna
Doing good, doing good.
we're gonna I think the NBA finals start in a few days, so we're gonna preview this very pivotal series because it's gonna be the first time champions for either the Denver Nuggets or
Which
the
I'm really excited about, by the way. Either Jokic or Jimmy Buckets is gonna be getting a ring.
yeah, one of those two.
It's gonna be a long time. When was the last time that happened? That like a new, like a merger. You know what I mean? Like Giannis, I guess. So
Yeah, it's
2021.
not that long.
Okay, but
Anyways,
okay. In the
what do you
last 10 years, though,
yeah,
come
It
on.
was Giannis, well then Kawhi before that, and
Steph,
then Steph
Steph.
before that in 2015 because that was his first ring, and then before that would be LeBron in 2012, and then Dirk in 2011. So basically every other year, kind of.
Other than 15, 16,
Six,
17.
no, like
Like in 16, like LeBron
okay, like
already
no,
had a
no, no,
ring.
no, 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 no. 2016 through 2018 was admittedly terrible for Curry because you had LeBron winning another one after he'd won in Miami, and then you had the Warriors and their super team winning. Then before that, you had LeBron winning with the Heat. But I mean, the first one of those could technically be counted as an
Actually, yeah.
emerging
Actually,
contender
now
because
that I
that
think
was
about it, yeah, that's actually true.
Guys. How about we just focus on the series at
yeah.
hand?
Anyways,
Yeah. Anyways.
What LeBron did like 10 years ago.
Yeah, who gives a crap?
So what do you guys think are going to be some pivotal matchups in
all right.
this series? You can go
For
first.
me, I mean, okay. I mean, I guess I'm cheating because I'm taking the obvious one, but like, what do the Heat throw at Jokic? That's like the biggest, absolutely the biggest question because last series Jokic went up against the Lakers, you would think would have potentially the personnel to really give him problems,
Best defense.
and they didn't really do that. I mean, not they didn't put up a fight, obviously, but well, I mean, they didn't put up a fight, but I mean, they made some of the games close. But the reality is, Jokic pretty much had his way most of the series,
And
and
they tried that, or I think Darvin Ham tried was instead of straight up putting AD on Jokic, they put Rui on Jokic, and that worked better because AD could kind of help off, like I don't know whoever he was guarding. I mean, Denver had some spot up shooters, which is kind of the
I think
problem
I think they would put AD on like Bruce Brown and
for Aaron
Aaron
Gordon.
Gordon mostly.
Wait,
That was the
Thomas.
game plan.
You said earlier, like just a second ago, that the games with the Lakers weren't close, or they were
They were
close.
close. I said because okay, so at first I said they put up a fight, but I realized that's not totally true because they got swept. But I wanted
Yeah,
to
the
at least say they
close.
did. They were
Yes,
not all
yes, yes.
blowouts.
That's a good way to put
They
it.
were
It was
close
like a
games.
close sweep, which
Yeah.
is like an oxymoron, I guess. But yeah, like every game, it wasn't like, oh, the Nuggets are gonna absolutely win this. Unfortunately, with the Warriors, after game two, every game the Lakers just kind of dominated. Three, four, five, other than five, and then six. Obviously, they dominated.
I feel like the Lakers Warriors, there was a lot more of a chess match in instead of the in a conference finals where I mean there were changes like putting Rui on Jokic was a change, but in
GP2.
yeah, Warriors Lakers that was like QB2 in the starting lineup that worked, and then Lakers adjusted. I forget what they did, but whatever they did, it worked.
Yeah,
And
Schroeder. I think they used Schroeder,
Schroeder
or
was Schroeder was big in that
he was.
series.
He was also Lonnie Walker.
Yeah, but like yeah, that's the thing. That series, like the turning point in that series was Lonnie Walker coming alive and taking a game that the Warriors, by conventional wisdom probably should have won. But
and by
somebody
that
else,
the
they should
momentum.
have made somebody else beat them. But
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's whatever. Where Lakers got swept, so
I
neither of
think.
those teams is going to end up on top this year.
I think. Yeah, it's.
So if you're Eric Spoelstra to slow down AD, do you try something similar?
Jokic,
Uh,
Jokic.
I mean, yeah, slowing down Jokic. Do you try something similar and put
Um,
instead of straight up putting Bam on Jokic, do you put like
I
bring Kevin Love back? I mean, I don't know how bad his back injury was. It looked pretty bad. Like game.
I don't I don't. And in fact, I would say I would be content with letting with doing what a lot of teams have tried to do against Luca in the playoffs in a couple of the past couple of years, which is basically letting him put up 35 a game and 10 assists a game, and then just trying to take away everything else, and living with the fact that he's going to be the best player on the court, and at this point is probably the best player in the world, and just trying to take away everything else they do, and hoping that whatever he's able to do isn't enough.
I mean, he really is like Jokic. There's, it's, I mean, Spoelstra has a big task ahead of him. I still like the personnel that Miami has. Like Bam is great, Kevin Love. They can kind of match their size. It's just I don't know, like nothing's worked. And if I thought the Lakers would have been the team to beat to like match the defense, their defensive intensity. But
Yeah, I mean, well, because the thing is, like, if you could force Jokic to do a lot of isolation scoring in the post against Bam, like that could, like obviously he's still going to be very effective, but that could maybe be the lesser evil compared to focusing so much on him that you just start opening up all of like the cutting action
and that's when they
and all of the pick and roll and everything else they do that all kind of relies on Jokic, but he isn't like the main player in, as opposed to just letting him try to score in isolation, which this playoffs he's had some really great moments. There in the past playoffs he has had moments where when teams forced him to try to score in isolation consistently, he didn't look super great.
now he's
So
like it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
stopping it. But I mean, I think Spoelstra will cook up something. I don't know.
The
Oh,
yeah,
Jamal Murray. What do you think about stopping him?
that's a tougher task because it's one thing to say, all right, well, like you put Bam on Jokic and you try to take away everything else,
Let
and
him
then
average.
yeah, but then that's the thing. Everything else on Denver can be so effective, and it all starts with Jamal Murray because like he's not just like the second star, like the main ball handler at this point. He's like his own franchise star, like level player at this point. He's scoring so much, so efficiently. He's he's taking, he's hitting shots off screens. He's he's attacking teams in the pick and roll. He's driving to the bucket. He's forcing teams to converge around him and finding players. He's scoring in isolation, hitting step backs. Like
Yeah, I mean his shot making is insane so far.
it's just ridiculous. And so like, sure, you can say like, okay, well maybe if you let Jokic beat you and try to take away everything else, but then what if it's two guys you're letting beat you? That doesn't really work. You can't let two guys beat you.
Michael Porter, KCP, you can't those guys like I think against Boston, they had guys that were obviously shooters, but not to the level that Denver has, where you cannot give them any space or else
Yeah.
it's dead.
No, I mean KCP has had games this playoffs where he looks like Clay, like prime Clay, where it's just like you cannot give him space. They're gonna find him on the catch and shoot. He's immediately gonna shoot, and it's gonna go in. Like he's looked so good. He's been so accurate.
Michael Porter at like
MPJ,
6'10" or 6'8" is like not only a great spot up shooter, but a good closeout sometimes just isn't enough because he could just shoot right over you. I mean,
no,
it's kind of,
MPJ is kind of fun to watch in that regard because it's just fun to watch like him take a shot with a guy in his face, and it just like it just doesn't matter
he is
because
the
he's
ultimate
just
screen, right?
no. I mean he's literally the like ideal catch. I mean I guess Kristaps maybe is like even more ideal of a catch and shoot
Yeah.
weapon, but like he's kind of like that where you have to hope he's not super hot because otherwise you're not gonna be able to bother him that much.
Yeah. And I think
Uh,
it's a factor that kind of led to, I mean, obviously it was a close series, went 7 games, but what made Boston come back was not really Jaylen Brown. And what took Jaylen Brown out of that series and what gave him a bad series was putting Jimmy Butler on him and just like Jason Tatum. It's kind of like similar to Jokic. Like Jason Tatum will let him score and like do his thing, but as long as he doesn't have that second option, because that's why Boston can be so lethal. If they're hitting on all cylinders, then that's why their offense is so good. But Jimmy Butler kind of took out and his Spoelstra as well, like scheming to take out Jaylen Brown, so he wasn't basically a non-factor, especially Game 7 when it fell onto him when Jason Tatum got injured, and it was his responsibility to spark any kind of comeback. Jaylen Brown wasn't really an option there because of Jimmy Butler and Spoelstra scheming against him.
well, I mean, Jaylen Brown tried to be an option. Jaylen Brown
Yeah,
took a lot of shots, and it wasn't working. Like
Yeah, they weren't like Tatum and Brown like combined 2 for 30 or something like that from downtown,
it
or
was
some insane
something.
stat like that.
It was pretty sad. Um, I mean that whole game was just yeah. Like I don't want to say I don't want to like use cliches about like they weren't built for it, like they collapse, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. The reality is
The
they
Heat
didn't hit
wanted it
their
more.
shots. They didn't hit their that exactly. They didn't hit their shots, but a lot of it also was just that the shots they were getting were not good shots, and they didn't seem super invested like emotionally or whatever you ever want to say, and getting better shots. Like they were settling so much, and it really it started with Jason Tatum, and even more started with Jaylen Brown, because some of the shots that Jaylen Brown took that game were just really really bad, and like I don't know, like I don't want to say again like he went to the finals last year, so it's not like he didn't have the poise, or like, he should have had the poise to know how to take those shots,
He was
but
borderline best player in the finals team last year. I mean,
he really
Jason
was.
Tatum was best on the way, I think, especially in
Yeah,
that Milwaukee series last year. But in the finals, Jaylen Brown definitely showed up.
it was kind of a baffling series, and I think or a baffling series from Brown. I do think it can best be explained by the fact that Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler really went out of their way to take him specifically out of the action by really keying on him and letting Jason Tatum, try to score in isolation over and over and over. It's which is taxing for a guy to do.
And I think what's
And
crazy is that you mentioned that they were like they lost their poise. They were settling for bad shots. They're on the brink of history. Why are they not? Why isn't there more urgency? Why isn't there more of a game plan to really approach the game with a winning mentality? But they were settling for bad shots.
I mean
It also goes back to kind of just like I think a lot of people are jumping on the coach, of course, Joe Mazzulla, like fire him. I'm not really that like obviously they lost in 7. They did almost complete the comeback. Obviously lost in 7. Do you guys think Jason Tatum, like obviously we'll never know, but Jason Tatum, if he doesn't turn his ankle in the first play, you think
Yeah, actually, that's a good
they lost
question.
by
That's a
20.
good question.
I don't know, man. They lost by 20.
yeah.
But you forget, Thomas, momentum is a huge thing about basketball. So if Tatum hasn't turned his ankle, momentum is swaying back and forth. It's not just a one way momentum towards the Heat, because guess what? When the Heat hit a big shot, when Caleb Martin's coming down, hitting a tough shot, Tatum's going on the other end and he's also hitting a tough shot. At least it's likely that would be the case. When you tweak your ankle like that, like it was clear. Like they all those replays where he was like grimacing and he was like hobbling a little bit. It
Every time
definitely messed with it.
yeah. I don't know.
So I think it made a big difference. Would it have changed the outcome of the game? I don't know. But I think it would have helped because Derek White was hooping.
Yeah.
But you can't just rely on Derek White to win you a game. You need Tatum to show up. Guess what? Derek White did win them game 6, but it was like Tatum was there. Brown was there as well. So I think it would have been a lot closer. I would still, I don't
I
know.
probably still need Miami. I think they were so much more comfortable in such an environment. I think Tatum for sure you might have been able to count on a big game from him, but even the others like Smart, Horford,
Brown disappearing.
Brown disappeared, of course. Horford, I mean Derek White, yeah, I'll give him credit. He had a great game, honestly. But Grant Williams as well, like nobody really would have showed up. I mean, it's tough to tell because then we're talking a different mental game too. Like if they have their leader there, then you have a bit more confidence than if your leader is
Yeah.
White, I guess,
I
leading
mean,
the comeback. Like,
I mean, the thing that's important to note is that like part of the reason why Derek Wright had such a big game is because they were asking him to score in isolation and running the offense through him, which probably has a lot to do with the fact that Tatum wasn't 100%.
and you could tell he was not 100%.
Yeah. No, I mean, he had a couple plays where he really had to where he really like put some effort in and put his head down and went to the rack, and every single time he would come up limping.
Yeah.
There's just one play that keeps sticking with me where he just beat Jimmy Butler off the dribble, straight up drove past him to the rack, easy layup, and he's just like you can tell he's hobbling all the way down the court. Like it took a lot out of him just to do create one good shot for himself on offense. But look, the reality is they lost by it wasn't like a 2 point game. Like, they lost by 20, and I don't know like he would have had to have created a lot of shots in isolation to make up for the way that the rest of their offense looked,
And he's not really
especially Jaylen Brown.
not like a obviously I think he can develop this part of his game, but at this stage in his career, I don't think he's really like the prime LeBron, Jokic, Steph, even Giannis to a certain extent, where they know how to make the right and Jimmy Butler actually they know how to make the right reads to kind of lead a comeback like what they needed. Like a 20
He
point
is, I've said many times, he is a fake superstar.
I don't think he's a fake
He
superstar.
he is
I
as
think
close to a superstar as you can possibly be without actually being one.
No, I
at this
disagree with
stage,
that.
at least
I
at this
fully
stage of his
disagree.
career.
No, I fully disagree with that. I think he is a superstar in the league for sure. He made it to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times. He's made it to the finals once. 2019 he made it, and then this year he made it. Last year he made it, and I think even the year before that he made it. So I think 4 times.
Yeah.
So four times, something like that. He's made it Eastern Conference Finals. He's made it to the finals once. 2 games away from winning it. It's not like they got absolutely demolished. Curry had to have had one of his best performances, at least
Well,
some of those games.
Of course,
no,
no, it's important. It's important to mention he was the second best player on his team in the finals. Like
True.
pretty young,
I agree
pretty
with that. I agree with that.
unquestionable.
But that doesn't make you a non-superstar. Curry's gotten clamped before. LeBron has gotten clamped before. All these guys have gotten clamped before. That doesn't just take away your superstar status. That's one. Two, I think.
When did Steph or LeBron get clamped? I mean, I'm not saying they've never lost, obviously, but
Okay, for example,
Well,
Klay
that-
Thompson.
nobody's
He-
saying.
If you're comparing Jason Tatum to Klay
True.
Thompson,
That's a bad
you're
comparison.
already
That's a
proved
bad
my
comparison.
point.
No, that's a bad comparison. But so you guys saying Curry, LeBron have never had a bad series?
Well, first off, this is now
LeBron 2011.
This is
That's a
now 2 bad series for Tatum in the two of what you could argue the 2 biggest series of his.
And Hassan,
his career.
I'm not saying like he's still so young that I don't
Yeah,
think
that's the thing. He's
Exactly. That was about to be my second
he's
point.
26.
Only 26. So to have a resume like that already and be only 26, how could you not consider him a superstar? That's just a bad take.
Not at all. It's not at all. Like here's the thing. Jason Tatum is a great player. Jason Tatum is an efficient scorer. He's a good defender. You know, there's not a lot of guys like that in the league. So already that's a huge point for his value as a player. But a superstar is a player who can be so on any given night can so unquestionably be the best player on the court that you really feel watching the game as though he is willing his team to victory. And a lot of that is
he is that.
He
Sometimes.
he is that.
absolutely
Game 7 Eastern Conference second round. He broke Curry's record. Is that not a superstar type performance?
It
More
was
like-
superstar type performance, and then he followed it up. That was a superstar. A superstar would follow that performance up by then showing up in the Eastern Conference Finals, where he didn't. He instead had a pretty solidly mediocre series. I'm not gonna say it was a terrible series.
What did
He
he
had some good games.
What did he average?
I don't have it in front of me, but he had
Let's
a
pull it up.
mediocre series, and obviously getting injured in the final does hurt him. It's tough to talk about because it's hard to know what he would have done. But
Okay,
the reality is, as it
so-
stands, he didn't do anything.
Game 1, 41 minutes, 30 points, 9 for 17, 1 for 3 from downtown, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block. Game 2, 34 points, 10 for 20, 3 for 10 from down.
You need like the.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
You just read the points. You don't need like block rebound.
Sure. So
That's
30 points game 1, 34 points game 2, 14 points game 3. That's bad. Game 4, 33 points. Game 5, 21 points. Game 6, 31 points. And game 7, honestly, I give him a pass because he was hurt.
For sure.
So over 6 games, he had two that were not that great.
Okay, but again, we all watched all the games. I know. I watched every game of this series. I didn't watch all 48 minutes of every game, but I watched at least a half of every game, and most of the games I watched all of them. The scoring on his part is decent, but the reality is he is not a player at this point in his career who can consistently break down a defense and create offense for the other players on his team. He does not elevate the other players on his team in the way that somebody like a Steph, LeBron, Kawhi, or even Giannis, who is not a great passer but is so destructive in transition and causes so much chaos when he gets the ball on the block that he creates a lot of open shots. Jason Tatum is
Do you think Luka's a superstar?
Luka is unquestionably a superstar, but of course Luka is also the best. I don't know where you're going with that because Luka's possibly the best passer in the league. He's the best in the league in doing what I'm describing.
But let's compare resumes then, right? One person is so. By the way, Tatum's not even 26; he's 25.
If you're gonna make me defend Luka,
I said 24, so I said even younger. So
Yeah. So imagine. But Thomas said 26, so he's 25, not even 26. He, like we said, he has 4 or 5 Eastern Conference Finals appearances in a tough East. At least now it's tough. Sure, his first Finals run or his Eastern Conference Finals runs, it wasn't that tough, but still, it was his rookie year.
I mean,
Kyrie was injured. So that's a big, big thing. They took LeBron to 7. So that's 1. 2, he's made it to the finals. 3, I think he's been all-star how many? Almost every year of his career.
he did also just lose to an
Tatum,
8
Tatum
seed.
has consistently had a
I
better.
don't know how tough the East is. if he's
Giannis lost to an 8 seed.
That is true. I'm not a Giannis fan either.
So is Giannis
just
not a
lost-
superstar?
Giannis is super. First off, Giannis has a ring, and he was the best player in the world by a wide margin
Fair.
when he won that ring. Which is
Okay,
something
but
Tatum
back to
has
the
never
Luca
done.
point though. Back to the Luca point. You're comparing
Tatum has-
resumes.
Tatum has always had more talent than Luka has ever had. Ever.
What?
Tatum has had more talent. That's what I'm saying. Tatum.
Really? I mean, don't make me defend Luca. I think Luca.
Best player is Kyrie Irving, I guess, and they had him for like a season, and then there was no depth, no rim protection, nothing on that team basically. He's had Jaylen Brown, Kyrie, Gordon Hayward, I wouldn't say Al Horford, Marcus Smart, Robert Williams. Kristaps Porzingis, I guess, is another name for Luka.
True, but we know that
But for
having a
Westbrook-
good team on paper doesn't equate to success. To be
Okay,
able
Wes.
to make
By the way, I
equation-
totally misheard. I thought you were saying
It has for the
when you
Celtics.
said Wes. When you said Tatum had more talent, I thought you were saying he was a more talented player. And I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, that's why I was confused.
Why is
too. I don't-
everybody just immediately agreeing with that? That sounds like a very close debate.
No. Luca is obviously the better
I
individual.
mean, I'm
player.
a bit of a Luca hater, so I would say it's.
But my
yeah,
point
Luka's
is
the more, let's
my
face it,
point
Luka's
is
the more talented player.
somebody's resume is a lot better, and Tatum has performed really well.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the,
No,
in the
I'm not.
in the right. So I'm just confused at the anti-superstar. I mean, okay, first of all, Thomas thinks that he's not a superstar. What do you think, Wes?
I mean, superstar. It's kind of like
I mean,
I
first of all,
don't
that's a really ambiguous term.
yeah.
Like,
That's where I
That's
think
what I'm
just-
saying.
like, where
Superstar
do
is
you
a
rank him? Where would you rank him? Like top?
superstar is a narrative term.
Yeah.
That's why I think he's a fake superstar because superstar is a narrative term. And Jason Tatum is a great player.
is Embiid a
But-
superstar?
Embiid did win an MVP this year. I would,
But
it's
also
funny,
based off of
if you
playoff.
had asked me 2 months ago, I would have said he's a superstar. I don't think he's a superstar as of right now.
Okay, at least you're
I
consistent.
think-
Is Harden a superstar?
Personally, I think there's no,
right now.
not this stage in his career, but at his peak, absolutely. Since it's a
He
narrative
never
thing,
made a
you can-
finals.
Oh, he was a superstar at his peak. Don't even get me started. He won MVP. He should have won 2. He was the
So I
best
guess
scorer in
he's
the
not-
league by a wide
No, I'm not
margin.
saying Harden's not a superstar. I'm just trying to point out the glaring inconsistencies in this whole superstar narrative. One
First
person is
off,
a
here's the
4 or
thing.
5 times
First
Eastern
off,
Conference Finals
I think there
appearances.
can only be about 5 true superstars in the league at once. I think everybody else is a star or an all-star or an all-NBA caliber player, whatever you want to say. But superstar, that refers to a guy who at any given night can have an easy argument for being the best player in the world. And there's usually only about five, maybe 6 guys like that in the league. And I don't think Tatum is one of them. Because I think at this stage in his career, not that he could not turn into a better version
Yeah,
of himself.
he's 25 years old.
At- He is incredibly young for somebody who has that great of a resume. But again, that's not what being a superstar is about. At least not in my opinion. I think at this stage in his career, he does not have the ability to elevate his team, and again, not just play well himself, but elevate the team around him in the way that pretty much every single superstar can.
What do you mean
Jokic,
elevate the team around him?
Steph, Jokic, AD, LeBron.
The
I mean,
players
the players around him play well. He
the
has
players that we
good
were
players.
talking about, when you talk about somebody like a Steph, a Giannis, a
AD.
Jokic, a LeBron,
AD.
an AD, a Harden at his peak, those players are the system. Tatum is a great isolation player, but the Celtics offensive system because of that, often just revolves around Jason Tatum
Fair.
scoring in
But
isolation.
every single player you just named. So LeBron, AD, Steph, Jokic. What were they at 25? Other than LeBron.
Well, son, that's why I'm saying like it's not alarming that he's not at this level when he's only 25.
I think based off his resume, I think he is.
It's also
in
not a
conversation
resume. It's
for one
not
of
what
them.
he did. It's not what he did like 5 years ago. He made it to the conference finals. Congrats. But it's what he's doing right now. And what did he do in the playoffs?
He made it to the conference finals yet again. That's not
But-
a small feat.
A great team, one of the greatest offensive teams of all time in this season.
So the 76ers also have a very good depth. They have a lot of depth on their team. They have an MVP on their team. The Bucks, same thing. They have depth. They have 2 times defensive player of the year, 2 times MVP. Just because you have all these check
One
marks,
time. He only got one defensive player of the year.
Are you sure?
Oh wait, unless you're talking about they do actually have two because Brook Lopez got one also.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah. So
Oh, I thought you were saying Giannis had two.
no, 2 defensive player of the year players.
I think-
Sorry, I didn't confuse that. So, and look at how their playoffs have went. So you cannot just equate check mark. It's not 2K. It's not 2K.
Win a championship.
Yeah, at 25, he's already made he made the finals at 24 years old.
But that's the thing. I feel like that's a disconnect because I'm not saying he will never again. This is just like my personal thing with the concept of superstar. So I'm not saying he'll never be a superstar. I'm not
Yeah, I
saying
get
he'll
what you're
never
saying, I
be
get
the
what you're
best player in the world. But right now he's not, and people kind of treat him like he is. People treat him like people were saying he was an MVP candidate. I never saw it. People act like he's going to be able to carry the Celtics to a ring. I didn't see it. I haven't been proven wrong yet.
Just
But
not. I could definitely see in the future, like a few years from now, when he develops a little more,
he's
that
gonna need to add some more facilitating. That's the number one thing. That's like
I
the
think
number one.
it's a good transition into our next topic, which is Jaylen Brown, $360 max or $360 million max.
Ooh.
What's about that?
Jesus.
I think there's
not. That's a Jordan Poole type fumble.
okay, it's all defensive or all NBA.
Yeah, I mean, but he also didn't get offered 150 million. He offered 360 million. So just like Poole didn't deserve 150 million dollars.
I think there's two perspectives to look at this. Should the Celtics give him the max and wait, should they and will they? I think should they, like based on its principle, like who he's shown himself to be in the playoffs, I don't think he's worth that max, but I don't think you're going to be able to get the same type of return per se because I've seen like a lot of trades like sign him to that max, trade him for Dame. But I think Dame will already be like by next season be like 35 or 34.
That's my favorite type of trade where it's clearly just like the fans of a certain team being like, "Wow, it would be cool if we could do this." It's like, no, they're not. Why on earth would the Trailblazers want maxed out Jaylen Brown if they're not even going to have Dame on the roster?
Also, Dame's only going to be 33.
But I also don't think it addresses really. I mean, I do think that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum aren't really complementary to each other the same way most duos or big threes are. Not big
They're
threes.
not. They really are. They really
They're
are
not
not.
complementary to each other. But that's why I think, and this goes back to your point about his development, Hassan. I think if he can develop that, like be a better facilitator, because right now they don't really have. I mean, Marcus Smart is like guests, and Jason Tatum are kind of like 1A, 1B in terms of the best facilitator on the team. I think if Jason Tatum can become like a LeBron type facilitator where you're a big guy, you can go in the post, but at the same time, you have that option where guys can't double you because they're afraid of the pass. And that's why I think him and Jaylen Brown can coexist if Jason Tatum can take yet another step and become a top 2-3 player in the league.
I think like you posed a good question. The should and will they? Should they? No, absolutely not. He doesn't deserve $350 million.
Will they? Probably.
Will they? They have to, unfortunately, because they're kind of stuck. What are they going to get in return for Jaylen Brown? They can't really get much. Especially, no one wants to take on that contract. $350 million. He is young still. Brown is only 25 or 26.
Like
I think he's the older one, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's definitely the older one. I know that for sure because I remember he was with IT.
Yeah,
He was with IT. Yeah. So he's definitely the older one, but I don't know what they could do. I think the good news for Celtics fans is that look, their core is still young. Horford is getting old. I'm not using the core. He's not the core, but he's a good piece. He's been an underrated piece for them. He has been there. He gives like there was that one play where it was just a beautiful pass. Like he just kind of volleyballed it to the perimeter. I think Marcus
They probably
Smart was
don't
there.
win. They probably don't win against Philly without his defense on Embiid either.
Exactly.
He was like
He's a
kind
very
of I feel like
piece.
underrated story in this postseason was just how
Very underrated.
effective Al Horford was at defending Joel Embiid. It was really, I mean, credit to him.
Absolutely. He defended MVP like a boss. And I think the crazy thing is that I literally remember thinking, I think it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when he was with the Thunder. I was like, man, it sucks for Horford. You know, he's old now. His career is gonna end at the Thunder. He's not gonna win a ring. He's never gonna have a fair shot at a ring. And look at the turnaround. He came back to the Celtics. They made it to the finals. They didn't win, obviously, but I think the main thing is that their core is young. So Tatum and Brown are young. They're gonna hopefully get better. They won't regress.
I
And
think it's more for Tatum to get better, to take that next step. 'cause then
absolutely, absolutely,
this.
absolutely. Because I think Tatum is the face of the franchise. Brown is, like you said, it's like 1A, 1B, but 1A is Tatum. And I think Tatum needs to, and looking at his career trajectory, he has only gotten better. He was extremely inefficient at one point in his career. He's gotten a lot more efficient now. That's one.
Yeah,
Two,
Tatum or
Tatum. I'm talking about Tatum.
I think
Tatum
Brown.
was Tatum
Brown-
in like his, I think it was second or third year, put up a really, really like uniquely inefficient season that had a lot of people doubting him, and then he just came back next year and was like, all right, I'm done taking long twos. I'm gonna
Young
play
guys are
kind of more like Harden or
young
you
guys
know.
are pretty inefficient.
Yeah, but he was also like, yeah, he really had an issue with the long twos. He was kind of like he had a long two addiction, and he just made a conscious effort to just like be like, all right, we're done with that. We're gonna shoot threes. We're gonna drive to the basket like good scorers in the modern NBA do. And he turned himself into an efficient scorer, which is that's kind of where he is now. Is he's kind of the absolute best an efficient scorer can be without being something more than that. Which again, which is what I really think is the issue. Like on offense, he needs to be a facilitator. He doesn't have to be the best facilitator, but he has to be an effective one to the point that when he's posting up, when he's isolating, on the outside, when he's forcing help to come to him, he can then punish the defense and use the gravity that he creates as a scorer to create offense for other people. That's really what I think the biggest issue with him is.
No, and I totally agree with that. And I think I have full faith in Tatum that he will develop these things. He will get better as a player. He's only 25. The reason I keep repeating that is because it is insane to think that he is only 25. Like Curry at 25, and look at him now. Right? Curry at 25, not a soul on the planet was like, man, this guy's gonna be a top 10 player. Arguably top 10 player. At 25?
Curry 25, that was what, 22, 23rd?
He's 34 right now, so 9 years ago.
9 years ago.
Wait, how old is he?
2014?
No, he's 35 right now.
That was the year that
He's
I think when he was 25, it was the year before his MVP season when he was top 10 in MVP voting that year. He had a good season.
10 years ago. 10 years ago. So wait, so it was 10 years ago. So no, so he was 25 in 2013.
See, well, I mean, obviously
2013 is 2 years before his MVP season.
All right. Well, I mean, he was already an all-star, but still, like, I understand what you're
But
saying.
so like, he didn't have the resume like?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, also Steph is, he's a top 10 player. He's
solidified, absolutely.
Yeah,
The reason I said arguably is because you could have like some may have Kobe over him or Wilt over him.
Yeah, but no, but like it's obviously a bit unfair to compare Tatum to, his career trajectory to somebody like that, unless that's the expectation. The only guy who I really feel like you can do that to fairly would be like somebody like Giannis.
No, I agree with that. But the reason I brought Steph up is because you look at all-time greats. A lot of them. Okay, no, I disagree with that. I was about to say a lot of them didn't become all-time greats until the end of their career, but that's not true. Like you look at Jordan, look at Shaq, look at Kobe, you look at Will.
I mean,
Bill,
Magic and Larry Bird
Magic.
they were
So,
they were young. They were already like
exactly. So that's not true. Like Curry is actually like an anomaly, low-key, where he just went crazy in the last 6 years, like from 2015 to 2022. And hopefully more to come.
He got robbed of some of the early part of his career by the ankle injuries. So I mean, who knows how he could have developed?
True, that is also
if that hadn't happened. But
no, I totally agree. But the reason I brought Curry up is because I think Tatum has a very bright future. And I'm not even a Celtics fan. I actually hate the Celtics, and I hate Tatum. I mean, I hate it that I'm his biggest number one fan in front of you guys, but I'm not. I don't like him that much. I think he was extremely overrated, and he still is a bit like I get your point about the superstar narrative and all that. I just think you're blowing out of proportion a little bit. Yeah, but to your definition, the top 5 player in the league, absolutely. Then he's not a superstar. But I kind of forgot where I was even where I was going with this. We were talking about Tatum. Oh, right, the Celtics offseason, like what to do for the future. Tatum, Brown, they're locked in.
And just run it
Smart
back.
is locked in. Run it back. You may have to find a replacement for Horford though, because he is really old now. I think he's what, like 37?
You know,
His
it's funny.
job is
He's not as old as you think. He's like 34.
He's 36. He's gonna turn 37 in June.
Really?
Yeah, he's turning 37
Wow.
in June.
Never
Yeah.
mind. He's exactly as old as you thought.
Yep. He no, yeah, he's old, dude. He's an old man.
I think
But
he's not bad. I don't think his role is like insane. You know, what I mean,
No, I mean,
it's not insane, but
he's
it's the
gonna.
small things, right? Like
I'm pretty sure is he under contract? I don't know that.
he is. I think majority of their players are all under contract.
So like, he's gonna be back. I think he's probably still in line for like a 20 to 25-minute role next year, assuming he doesn't fall off a cliff. The biggest thing is going to be hoping that the guys you already have on the roster, who are all very talented, or a lot of them are very talented, can all find ways to elevate their games in small ways that turns them from an almost contender into like a real contender, potentially a title winning team.
Yeah,
I, I
absolutely.
I think mostly, and maybe a coaching change could help spur that. It doesn't look like that's the direction they're going to go, even though a lot of their fans want them to fire Missoula. But if failure comes knocking again next year, and they've stuck with Missoula,
then I
I
would.
mean he is going to be so gone. But
Yeah,
that's a story for another
yeah,
day.
no, absolutely. I think that's the problem with like head coaches. It's like one and done types deals for a lot of them. Like it just doesn't make sense. You got to give at least 2 or 3 try seasons. You know what I mean?
First year as a head coach, first time in the playoffs. I think give him some time. They'll be back in the playoffs next year. Let's see how.
Absolutely. They almost came back down 3-0. They are like the 7th team to make it to game 7 after being down 3-0.
They were playing the 8th seed though. I don't want to give them too much credit.
The best team in the East at this point. You got to
The
admit,
best team in the East.
the best team in the East.
I mean,
And
yeah, but like I don't know. Like again, this is yet another thing where it's 7 games later. Yes, they're the best team in the East. They coming into the series, the Celtics were supposed to beat them because the Celtics were supposed to be the best team in the East, and they didn't look like it. So again, I don't want to give them too much credit. It was a again, taking the longer view, kind of zooming out. It was a pretty embarrassing series for Boston, all things considered. But yeah, anyways, it's going to be interesting to see what the Celtics do over the next couple of years. But right now, obviously,
next couple
all
of
the
years,
main focus is on the
Man,
coming
smooth
up.
transition.
The
I think what we should talk about. We should talk about the final. Yeah, I feel like we already talked about the finals, but
No, like we talked about like
official picks.
we didn't really talk about like who we think is winning. So obviously,
Yeah.
all right, I'll just get it started. I think, man, I really hate it with every bone in my body to go against the Heat again. Because against the Bucks, against the Celtics, I had the Bucks and the Celtics winning, but unfortunately, for my favorite player, Jimmy, he's like a top 5 most favorite. He's like my top 5 favorite player of all time, easily,
So likable.
easily. He's just the grit, the grind, the story, son of MJ. Come on, man, it can't go wrong. So I think I gotta go with the Nuggets, unfortunately, because I just think it'll be really tough to stop Jokic, Murray, and even like an underrated guy like Aaron Gordon. You know what I mean? Like he's just so good. He's big, he's strong. So I'm gonna go with the Nuggets in 5. I hate to say that, but I gotta go with the Nuggets in 5. If I look stupid, I look stupid. But if any team could beat the best team in the NBA, which is the Nuggets, it is absolutely the Heat. So I'm wanting the Heat. Like between what I think and what I want the Heat to win in 7 with a game winner by Jimmy Butler, game-winning buzzer beater. But my brain, my rational side tells me the Nuggets are going to win in 5, and Jokic will be the Finals MVP.
Yeah. And Jamal Murray, not gonna give him any chance. I don't know.
Jokic is too good, dude.
It's too good.
All right,
It's Jokic. If Miami wins it, it's Jimmy.
I mean, look,
absolutely. All right, next.
I mean, I don't feel bad about it at all. I know you're saying you feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about it at all. Here, I'll go on record. Heat's whole run this playoffs, giant fluke. Nuggets in 5. I agree.
Huge fluke?
I'm joking. I'm joking.
Oh.
I'm joking. But no, I mean, I agree with you. I will say Nuggets in 5, and like you said, if Jimmy Butler continues to do some kind of like magic spell that he's been doing and change the rules of the universe and continue to beat teams that are by all accounts better than him, I guess that's what we'll get. I would love to see it. I would love to see him do it, but the reality is, the Nuggets they are a well-oiled machine on offense. They
Well-oiled
are
machine.
they are so incredibly efficient on just on a night in, night out basis. They have multiple guys who can hurt you from deep. They have the best player in the world, a guy who can not only create shots for himself in isolation, but will punish every single possible mistake your defense even thinks about making. And they're going up against a team that has now come off back to back. Well, I guess I was gonna say back to back 7 game series. It's not back to back 7 game series. It's a 6 game series, and then an incredibly intense 7 game series. They're gonna be tired. I don't think they're gonna be able to have the discipline on defense they need to really slow down the Nuggets. And I think that for all the incredible things that Jimmy Butler does, and that all those role players around him, and Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, and uh, of course the most important one, how could you forget, Caleb Martin, have been doing, I don't think they can keep up. So I think what you're going to get is a lot of games where it's close maybe up until halftime because the Heat slow down the game and they make possessions scarce and they try to drag you down to their level. But I think you're going to get a lot of games where it's close until halftime, maybe close up into the third quarter, and then the Nuggets put it away because they have the guys to do it. So that's my kind of script for the series, and I say your take Nuggets in 5 is about as accurate as I can get.
I'm fighting the urge to be a contrarian and just say Heat and something, but I can't deny that the Nuggets are the best team throughout these playoffs so far. I'll go Nuggets in 6 because I'll give Jimmy at least one game, and I think the combination of Tyler Hero maybe Bam hopefully playing some good Dion, just like all around being a good cleanup on all around. I think I'll give them at least 2 games, especially those 2 games in Miami. I think they have a pretty good chance of winning them. I mean, historically, they don't really have a great home crowd. They've like lost that Derek White buzzer beater, and then last Eastern Conference Finals, them and Boston were kind of trading, like winning away. But I think Jimmy, I respect him too much to not give him at least one game, and then I'll give Spoelstra, the role players, Tyler Hero, another game. So Nuggets in 6, I think. That's my take.
I think that's the finals. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited, man. I'm really excited.
I would love to see the Heat shock everybody again. I really would. I would love to see like a good 7 game NBA Finals, like a classic. Because this is like a very, it's kind of like the series 2 years ago with the Suns and Bucks, where it's like it's kind of uncharted territory. These are two cores that
Two
have not.
first-time champs.
Yeah.
Or a core with first-time champs.
Well, yeah, you're talking about like Jimmy Butler and Jokic, right? Not the Heat.
No, yeah, that's
Okay,
what,
yeah.
like the Bucks and the Suns.
So
Same
yeah,
thing.
but that's what I'm saying. Like these 2 cores, we've never seen them in a finals before. Either way, it's going to be the first championship for a superstar of the game, because Jimmy Butler and Jokic both do not have rings. So I would love to see a more exciting series than what I predicted, but who knows?
I think if Jokic wins this, I don't know if I'm speaking like too much recency bias, but this might be his toughest matchup. I mean, the Lakers were great, and I forget who they played in the second round, but I think it's between the Heat and the Lakers. And
we'll have to see how.
I think it's very obviously the Heat. The Heat beat the first seed on the East. They beat the second or third seed in the East as well. How could you not say they're best, right? The Lakers
beat the defending champs.
They beat the defending champs, but the defending champs weren't 100%.
Well, it's usually we say we're not 100%. It's like
it was the defending champs without 2 of their 3 main scorers.
Clay wasn't injured though. He just
Clay, I know, but Clay and Poole forgot how to play basketball.
yeah, he got like hit on the head with something and just forgot.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
it was a yacht accident. But
Yeah.
on a side note, though, actually, really briefly, I know because we do have to talk about recent Warriors news. But you mentioned that you believe the top 5 players in the NBA is the definition of a superstar.
That's my loose definition.
So then, who
Obviously, I think
are
it shifts.
the superstars in the NBA right now? For you?
That's an interesting. Okay, so I think it
Briefly.
starts with. Okay, yeah, okay. Then I'll just straight up list them out. I think Jokic, Giannis, Steph, Luka. Who is the fifth?
AD.
AD,
was,
that's a
He's not
good.
consistent enough.
he was better than LeBron. What are you talking about?
But he's not
Let's just
consistent
see.
enough.
Go. You know what? Just for
Playoffs,
the
bro?
sake of if we're trying to make it quick,
The playoffs, but I
and the way
care.
he played in this playoffs, I'll just give it to AD. I think
Over KD, over Embiid.
that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna be going with because I think superstar is a term that kind of lends itself to recency bias a lot. I think superstar is kind of about what have you done for me lately. So I'm
What do
just
you
gonna
guys
go
value
off of
more?
performance
What do
in
you guys
this
value
playoffs.
more? What do you guys value more? Regular season performances or rising in the playoffs, which is what AD did.
Also, I'm surprised none of you guys called me out for having Luka over KD or who's the other player you mentioned?
Playoffs this year. I don't know if you can really include Luca. He didn't make the playoffs.
I don't know, man. I'm feeling generous, dude. Luka, I hate on Luka so much. I had to give him something.
Jimmy
I
over.
think most people would consider him a superstar. So most people would also consider KD a superstar. Maybe there's six. Maybe it's six. Because then I think about it, I think once you get past KD, then it starts to really drop off. But it's kind of those six guys.
Devin Booker.
Devin Booker's not a superstar. He would, if I would say of Devin Booker all the same things I said about Jason Tatum.
Fair. Yeah. I still have Jimmy Butler over Tatum as well. So
Oh, that's
Absolutely.
true because of these playoffs. Ooh.
See, that's what I'm saying. Saying top 5 is too.
No, but I think it's important. I think it creates it, because people throw the term around.
I think. I mean, that
People
is
throw the
true.
term
People
around.
do
That's
throw
my
around, but
issue.
I think in my
People
opinion,
throw the term around.
who
They're
do
like
I think are
Tatum.
the
It stops
superstars?
meaning anything.
Who do I think are the superstars? Steph, Luka, Jimmy, Irving, KD.
No way. Get out of here. 2021 Kyrie or sorry, I think
Irving,
it's 2021.
KD,
2023 Kyrie Irving is not a superstar. It's not even.
Embiid,
Don't get out of here.
Jokic. So that's like 6, 7 players. 8. Giannis. I didn't even mention Giannis. I think keeping it at 5, it's just you kind of can't. I forgot about
Kyrie
LeBron
Irving
as well.
Is 2023 LeBron is not a superstar. 2023 Kyrie Irving is not a superstar.
AD though.
AD,
AD
I
is
forgot
more
about
of
AD
a-
as well. So it's okay, even if you minus LeBron and Kyrie, I still stated like 8 players. So it's like
You stated 8 with LeBron and Kyrie. Other than that, you stated 6.
no, that's not
Which is
true.
what
Okay, I mean, I guess we could run the recap and let us know down below. All right, I think the last thing I wanted to touch upon was the
Bob Myers.
unfortunate news of Bob Myers.
He left us
He left the world, the NBA world.
for the
I
dynasty.
mean, his reason, like, okay, yeah, I've been seeing that a lot all over, like, the end of the dynasty. So, obviously, when we lost, I remember, like, when we were sitting there, and, like, my initial thing was, man, I think it's the end of the dynasty. But you guys kind of showed me otherwise, that no, we trade Poole. Steph will still be Steph. Hopefully, Clay kind of tweaks some things, comes back stronger. Dre is Dre. He may regress offensively, but defensively, he'll still probably be all NBA defensive. Wiggins is Wiggins. I don't think he'll regress. I think he'll probably get better. He's entering his prime. And we have GP2, and all we got to do is trade Jordan Poole. But now we lose the executive of the year, 4-time champ. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, he created the dynasty. Brought in Iggy, drafted Draymond. I think he definitely brought in Iggy.
And even Wiggins, like the way we got Wiggins, like
he hired Steve Kerr also, perhaps.
And we literally had D'Lo. We had D'Lo.
And we got Wiggins. He's just genius. I mean, he's once in a generation, I think.
Like, we didn't just lose KD. Can you imagine, like, KD, we would have just lost it. We got D'Lo, and indirectly for KD, we got Wiggins. Obviously, it's a drop-off, but we could have also got nothing. You know what I mean? Like,
Also,
like,
Owner.
oh my God. It's just, he's so underrated. Like, outside of the Warriors fan base, not many people know how good
I
he was.
think people know.
Like, not like the
Oh, also,
average fan.
also again, again, I think one of the most underrated parts about his tenure was the way that he was able to manipulate contracts so that we would have a slot open for KD when he became a free agent. Because how many teams could have
Oh
had Steph,
man.
Clay, and Draymond all basically already in their primes,
And
all under contract,
Iggy's
and
contract.
still had all the money to pay KD?
I mean, it's facts. Like, I just don't know what to think. Like, who is in contention to replace him? Is there anyone really
I thought it was
Uh,
Joe Lacob's son.
it might be the owner's son, Joe Lacob's son,
I don't like
which
that.
is bad news. That is, as far as I'm concerned, you do not want to hear that. I Yeah, the owners and the owners' families being heavily involved in the actual operation of a team is often a recipe for disaster. Uh, like I had to, as a 49ers fan, I had to sit through Jed York just absolutely bungling his way through trying to run a team for like 3 years, and then he finally figured out to hand it over to an actual, general manager in John Lynch, and all of a sudden the franchise turned around. I would not want, like, I don't know his name, but whoever I have seen the stories. Whoever Joe Lacob's son is, please stay out of the Warriors front office.
Yeah,
We
but
do
I
not
feel
want
like
you.
our front office is smart enough. Like, they're really, like, you don't just by chance have the success we've had since 2015, 2014, or 2014, where we had the uprise and all that. We didn't draft that well just out of nowhere. So I think they'll be smart enough to get a good replacement. But maybe, what I will say is, I think the one positive is that, I mean, I guess the one positive is that it'll be a really unbiased perspective. What do I mean by that? Like, Poole is homegrown, so maybe Bill sorry, not Bill Meyer,
Bob Myers.
Bob Myers, yeah, he may have been kind of biased to not let go of him, especially because they gave him such a terrible contract. So it looks so stupid if they just kind of let him go. So if you get another person with a fresh perspective and a new outlook,
Fresh pair of eyes.
fresh pair of eyes, exactly. And guess what? It wasn't his mistake that he gave him that contract. So he's not as hesitant to get rid of Poole. But that could also shoot us in the foot and be like, man, Clay, he's washed up. We gotta get rid of him. So there has to be like a good medium, and
Well,
I'm scared. I'm really scared because this could be genuinely the start of the end of the dynasty.
biggest thing is actually, I wouldn't even say it's any of that. It's Draymond and Draymond's extension.
Doesn't he have
But,
a?
Because,
but he's signing back, no?
well, that's the thing. Him and Bob Myers are
Oh
really,
yeah,
really close.
yeah.
And there were some reports. I'm not saying they were correct reports, that Bob Myers staying was going to be a huge factor in Draymond's decision to resign. So
I
I
think he'll
think
resign. I think he'll
I think
resign.
he was resigning. I think he planned to, because I think a lot of people just assume Bob Myers would be back. But now that could throw a wrench into everything.
Bro,
However, Bob Myers did publicly state he was going to try to help get Draymond back, as
He better.
he
Stay like
absolutely better.
after he stepped in.
So
yeah.
no, I think Draymond will resign, and the reason why I say this is because on his podcast he said, "I'm trying to ride out with the boys I rode in with."
Hopefully,
And
he
guess
does.
what? Who do you ride in with? Yeah, Bob Myers. Yeah, Kerr. Yeah,
Harrison
Curry.
Barnes. Harrison
Yeah,
Barnes.
Clay. What?
Harrison Barnes.
Harrison Barnes. So he may be going to the Kings. He rode in with Iggy. So the majority of the people he rode in with, guess what? They're still here. So I don't think he'll leave. If he does leave, though, this may be a bad take, but I genuinely think it's time to fully then go for a rebuild, because you lost without Dre. We are not winning champs.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not. We're not.
As good as Steph is, he's like top 2 player or 1 player right now. We're not winning any championships without
Not at all.
the player.
Every team that's won a championship has had one or like a good defensive anchor. Think about it. We can look back at all the champs that we've had. You look at 2022, Dre, 2021, Giannis, Bucks, 2020, AD, and LeBron were pretty solid. 2019, Kawhi
But also,
And-
Marc Gasol,
Marc Gasol, very
Single most
underrated piece.
in my opinion, maybe the single most underrated season by any player in recent NBA history is Marc Gasol in 2019. He was so good defensively. He was such an important piece for them. But
Absolutely. 2018,
anyways.
2017, 2016, 2017, obviously Dre, Clay dominant.
AD.
2016, they had like Kevin
LeBron.
Love, LeBron, obviously.
I would say that Cavs team is maybe the closest thing you can have to a team that won a championship without a real defensive anchor.
Yeah, that's
But
fair.
like LeBron and Tristan Thompson were good
Yeah,
defensive.
and
Yeah, but
LeBron
like
was
you know,
good defensively.
yeah, I mean, LeBron was LeBron. He was young enough then that
Yeah.
he was still putting
Yeah,
in
and he
effort
was
on
still
defense.
young. Exactly. That
Yeah.
2015 Dre, 2014 it was a
Kawhi, Tim
first
Duncan.
Kawhi.
Kawhi and
exactly,
Tim Duncan, that was
Tim Duncan.
that was a truly elite defensive team.
2013, obviously it was like LeBron, Chris Bosh, and them again. 2012, same thing. 2011,
Tyson Chandler,
Tyson
baby.
Chandler, baby.
Those big centers who provide rim protection, they always get forgotten. I feel
They
like
get forgotten. Like Marcus, yeah, they're very underrated because
Yeah.
their game is very underappreciated.
Yeah.
You don't really get to see all the glamour and fancy highlights, right? So, anyways, we could keep on going back, but that's my main point. You lose Dre. I really think, unfortunately, I don't know.
Trade-
Okay,
Trade
Dre,
Steph and
Steph, and
Clay.
Clay.
I don't want to think
honestly.
about it.
I don't want to think about it at all.
He's gonna resign, guys. Come on, let's not talk about this too much.
yeah,
let's-
actually, it's like giving me like unnecessary anxiety.
We'll have the conversation if he doesn't resign. Then yeah, it's
if
again,
Dre
I'm
doesn't
not trying to think
resign, like
about it.
I'll genuinely feel like
What is his contract situation? It's next summer that he has to sign an extension, or this summer?
No, it's this summer.
Okay, then it's
Well,
coming up.
he has an option. So he can either choose to resign at a certain rate, which is a good rate for him at this point in his career. But he could also maybe think he's getting more somewhere else or just want to change the scenery. That again, it's not like he's indicated that. It's just, does Bob Myers being out change anything? Hopefully not.
I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so.
There's been a couple reporters trying to stir the pot in it. Those is all
I
that
say
I'm saying.
screw
Yeah.
them. They're
Yeah.
annoying. But
back. Yeah.
Poole needs to go. He needs to go. But what makes me really sad is because, man, you could trust Bob Myers is cooking something. You know what I mean? He's cooking some absolutely beautifully crafted plan. He's gonna trade Poole, and somehow we're gonna get like, I don't know, like OG or something like that. Some crazy drastic 3-team trade. But guess what? He's gone. So it's like, man, it's gonna be interesting to see what we do. But I trust the Warriors front office. I trust Kerr. I trust Steph. I trust Dre. Dre will be back. And I think that's a good place to leave it. I think it's a good place to leave it. We had our predictions. We have our uncertainties, and I think we covered about everything. So